Welcome to the SIWIKE Podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SIWIKE Podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. And we're here with another edition of the Student Corner with Revant. And today's topic, I think we were going to get into jobs and work experience. So first of all, understanding what is the importance of getting that work experience, because school is great, you got classes, you got exams, you got all that sort of stuff that demonstrate your learning, but oftentimes it's that work experience that really differentiates. And we'll talk a little bit about differences between some of the different types of work experience you can get out there. So like co-ops, internships, work integrated learning, part-time jobs, and volunteering. And yeah, I will walk through kind of Revant's experience with some of that stuff, and then my own experience there. So yeah, we'll start off with some of the overview of some of these things. So for a lot of folks, you might be familiar with a co-op program, right? So within Canada and the world, there are programs that are specifically designed where you study for a period and you work for a period, and you study and you work. So generally speaking, it coincides with the school term. So you'll spend, let's say, 8 months or 12 months or 16 months, and each program is slightly different, but then you'll have a 4-month work term, right? It might be extended to an 8-month or a 12-month and sometimes 16-month in order to do some work, but the school provides some help in order to get that work. Now, not all programs actually have co-op, right? Because just the way that the school is set up in terms of resources and stuff, not all programs have co-op, right? So if you don't have a co-op program option for your program, then you'll might need to take your own internship, right? And that's often over the summer, although sometimes you can work out where you take a break over a term and you work, and basically you're finding your own job, right? The school might have some portals, but it's separate from the co-op one. And you're looking to get your own job, your own work experience, do your own prep. You can generally use the Career Center and things like that. You can also have some mentorship or leadership programs that'll offer some internships as well. Yeah, so that's another option. A lot of schools are also incorporating work integrated learning or WIL courses, where essentially with an assignment, you work with a business, right? So you might have an assignment, and sometimes it's a case study with this like fake business, but they'll often, with these new programs, bring in a real business, and the judging of your assignments gets put into your grade, right? So there's some administrative stuff in terms of like the actual content, but the kind of merit from a business perspective, the employer gets to use. And then you always also have like things like part-time jobs where there might be survival jobs, or might be actually doing the work that you want to be doing. You could do some freelancing on the side too, right? So there are lots of portals out there as well. And there's obviously the unpaid stuff. So doing volunteer work or unpaid internships. So that's a high level overview of some of the experience. And yeah, Revant, I think it'd be great if you shared some of your experience and context, like what did you do? What did you pick? Because I understand that in high school, you did like a mentoring program. So you can talk a little bit about that. And then you enrolled in co-op, then you went out of co-op, and then maybe going back in. So talking about some of your decision process for that, I think would be great for some of our listeners.
For sure. So I during my high school, I had done a mentorship program by Unilever, and I was fortunate enough to get into it, wherein I was just discovering where my passion lied and what I actually wanted to do. So I took up the internship and helped them in a feasibility study in opening up a new market segment locally here in India, wherein after my internship, I had to go to the headquarters in Rotterdam, and I had to present my findings to them. And hopefully, they are implementing my ideas. And I feel that was one of my starting points in my life. That was probably one of my first internships, or that was probably my first internship. And apart from that, later on, I went on to do another internship with a finance company, wherein They taught me the fundamental analysis and how to evaluate companies and look at companies from a different perspective in terms of investing in them. And then I landed up in a co-op program, in the double degree co-op program,
Before we
which
go
I
into
later.
before we get to that part, can you describe a little bit more about the kind of preparation and the experience of getting those internships and like what was it like kind of the first day? Because you're a high school student, right? So a lot of people don't work until later on. Some of them do work in high school, but the first job can be quite nerve-wracking. So can you describe the process of like kind of like showing up on the first day, or even preparing for that first day, or even the whole application process? What was that like?
So I was fortunate enough to find this opportunity online through one of my friends who suggested this to me, and we both applied to it. And later on, I found out that I'd been selected while he did not get into it.
Oh,
But I had um, then I took up this challenge of doing this mentorship program, wherein I was under I was working under the head of marketing in Dubai, like head of marketing of Dubai, and he was conducting a market research for products to launch in India, wherein I I so for me I didn't have to report into the office or something like that. So they gave me assignments and tasks that you need to go to this place and check out the products and make a list of the products they had, look at the tech, and um, do more research on the competitors and all those work. And after all, like, I had to create a presentation and report my findings to them probably every week. And um, and gradually that all collated into a final presentation wherein um, I had to convince them, not convince actually, I had to portray all my findings, and I evaluated everything, told and I told them that it is a good option to launch your products into India.
so when you were applying, so your friend referred you, but you got in and he didn't. So that's unfortunate for him, but fortunate for you. But like the first couple of days, right? Because this actually your first job, like your first work experience, doing anything?
That was, yeah,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah, and
So
that can be pretty
earlier on,
and that whole
yeah,
experience can be
indeed.
pretty nerve-wracking for folks. So like if you can describe a little bit about how you got started and like how did you prepare for that first day and the first week, like getting into that, like did you even have to like dress up and like be more formal and all that sort of stuff? And how did you even know what to wear? Because those are some of the little things that people take for granted and get stressed out about, because it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, especially for your first job. So yeah, if you can share a little bit more about some of those stresses to help hopefully alleviate people's fears, and that would be great.
Yes, of course. So I was kind of nervous when I got the offer, and I was very confused about my attire, what I had to wear, and like whether and many other things. For instance, if I need to go to a place to check out the products, then how am I going to approach them? Because it's going to like some people might take me for granted because I'm in the mentorship program and I'm not even a full-time employee of Unilever, and for that reason they might not give me all the information. They might feel like, why have they sent a kid? So along with me there were a few other people um, who were not working with me but who were working under different mentors. So I didn't have a team like structure. I just had a mentor who I used to report my findings to, and he was not present in India. He was sitting in Dubai. So I have visited the office a couple of times, and it's quite casual out there. Like it no one is extremely formal. Everyone, like the tire is also, the first day I had worn formal clothes, but later on, I when I went there, I was shocked to see that everyone is wearing semi-formal clothes, and because I feel they endorse or they recommend you to wear whatever you're comfortable with, unless you have a formal presentation with like your boss or something like that. But other than that, I learned a lot in my first week.
What was some of the learnings that you had?
Um, so so initially I was given a task to go to a few vendors and check out the products they had, because Unilever was intending to penetrate the market in India. So I checked out many decks, and like initially I did all the work diligently, but gradually I understood that I need not be hardworking. Like I need to be smart enough, and not I need to be smart enough to look how I need to extract my information from them. So I think that was my learning.
Cool. And then you said that in joining university, you had the opportunity to pick a co-op program, but then some other things happened where you moved around. Like, what was the decision process to like be in, be out, and then like where are you at in terms of your decision of co-op or not co-op or something else?
So initially, when I got into the double degree program, that was with co-op. But when I decided that I am not that inclined towards it, and when I switched to a different program, I dropped the co-op program also, because I was quite unsure um, whether I'm going to stay back in Canada and whether the work experience is going to add on to my is whether it's going to add on to my professional career. But yeah, but like I later on I realized that I need some experience apart from theoretical studies, so that it can increase my prospects irrespective of whether I want to be in Canada or not. Like I wanted some learning, and um, I feel like I am gonna get into the co-op program next semester, just uh, so that I get some more experience, and in the field of finance, so that when I'm back in India after my studies, I can apply those techniques and my learnings from those experiences.
So for those out there that are considering like co-op or work integrated learning or internships or part-time volunteering or whatever, all these different options, like what are some of the things that you've considered that would be helpful for them to think about, like why co-op or not? Because you mentioned that you weren't sure if you were staying in Canada or not, but then you decide, oh, work experience is good or not. Like what are some of the key criteria or key factors that folks should start thinking about when considering all these different options?
So I think as an international student, I would look at the first question I would ask myself would be what whether you're going to stay back in Canada or whether you're going to return to your home country. And if you want to stay back in Canada, then are you going to get employed or are you going to start your own business? So if you are going to get employed, then it makes, which for most people is the case, then it makes sense to go for a co-op program, and to go for more internships, um, because um, these the when after you graduate, when you are searching for work, employers want you to have some experience nowadays, to know that you are adjustable in the working environment and you're not the one who's a geek and studies the entire time. I mean, there needs to be some application of the theoretical knowledge, and that is why employers prefer more students who've done co-op experiences. So, for instance, right now in the co-op program right now at UTSC works like 8 months of studies and 4 months of co-op. And if you align everything perfectly, then you should graduate in 4 years. And I feel it gives a good opportunity to students to, in terms of their prospects after graduating. And while in my case, if I'm choosing to go back to my own country and start my own venture, then I feel I don't require a co-op, not necessarily, but I might require some experience and some learning. For that, I'm planning on doing some internships before I graduate.
And what was the decision for like internships versus co-op? Because like if folks are considering like what's the different from a student perspective, what have you heard out there that could help them make their decision?
So co-op is you first you need to be enrolled in the co-op program, which is affiliated by a university, and in my case UTSC, and a co-op program has a few has an additional fee that you need to pay every semester. In addition, they have a portal which gives you access to many of the jobs which are listed. While for an internship, which I would be seeking, you need to apply everything. You need to do everything by yourself. Like for instance, you need to expand your LinkedIn network, and you need to make more connections. You need to network with people in order to land you a co-op. But in an internship, you don't get the access to the portal where the jobs are listed. But most of the jobs are which are listed. Uh, I mean, irrespective of the jobs which are listed on the portal, you need to apply uh, to the website directly also. So all the students who are in the core program, they do two applications. They submit one through the portal, and they also need to submit one directly through the website. While for me, if I'm gonna do it, then I need to directly submit it to the website. So uh, I feel like as far as what I've heard is 75% of the jobs are found from are not found from the core portal which universities offer. They're found more by networking with people in the industry. They're more um, by networking with more people in the industry, and just uh, making more connections, and being useful, and like starting a conversation with like-minded people. So
Yeah,
apart from that,
I think what I've heard is that yeah, for those that feel they can do it on their own, then the non-co-op option is obviously less costly, and there's a lot of opportunities because yeah, the co-op portals have jobs, but there's a lot more out there. But it does have a lot of value because for those that aren't as confident, the prep programs, you have the support of coaches and counselors and the whole kind of faculty department that's basically under co-op that's helping you move forward. But it is additional fees, additional time, and additional commitment. But some folks really need that accountability. So yeah, and when you are looking at like jobs in different areas, like do you have a specific like I know I want this type of job? Are you more on like the exploration phase where like well I have like 3 or 7 different areas that I'm thinking about and I want to do like different co-ops or has maybe your high school or the mentorship experience kind of guided you, or are there other things that you're considering about in terms of like how to leverage that to kind of explore out there?
so by the mentorship programs and by my past internships, I've realized that my passion lies in finance. So at least I'm focused on one sector, and I'm open to exploring different options in finance. So so I think any any internship or a co-op in the field of finance would be ideal for me, so that that acts as a filter to remove many other jobs which are not of my interest, and focus on the ones which are there for me.
Cool.
And I'd also like to ask you, Luki, that when you graduated from UTSC, uh, did you have a core program back then? And because right now the core program is in a pent up demand, and everyone wants to get into the core program, and you know everyone wants to have the work experience because they have an upper hand. while looking for job prospects. So I'm just curious to know whether you were in the same situation back then, and was the demand really high for the co-ops back then, and was UTSC the only university who was offering the co-op program?
Yeah, so my work experience, so I'll probably start in high school, where I actually did a high school co-op in my final year, where I did some work at the federal government. It was the Human Resources Development Canada, and I was well, I did a computer science degree, so I was in help desk, like network administration, right? So I helped like install computers and software and things like that, right? So that was an interesting experience, and it was great because I actually was able to get a bunch of summer jobs through kind of connections and doing that. So even before the co-op program started, I was able to have some work experience. And for me, like I understood that work experience was important, and it's a big differentiator because everybody in your graduating class is going to have the same degree, sometimes higher, sometimes lower marks, right? So you're competing against all your classmates, you're competing against all the other classes from the other universities, colleges, or whatever out there. And but not a lot of them will have work experience, right? And even though the number is growing, not all of them will have work experience. So I made sure that I picked a program that had co-op, right? And I actually applied to Waterloo, but I didn't get in. But and I picked UT Scarborough specifically because they did have the co-op program, right? So I got into downtown, but I didn't want to do that. They had a different one. They have this thing called PEY, which is basically one term that's 12 to 16 months, right? So it's a longer time frame, but it's only one. And I thought that co-op, where you have two, optionally three work terms, you got to explore a little bit more, right? So for those that know exactly what they want to do, well, then something like a longer term with like a fewer number of work opportunities might be better. But for those that have no idea, then like Waterloo is great because you get 6 terms, right? Imagine 6 places where you get to work and explore and all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think UT Scarborough, it's 2 or 3. I don't know what's mandatory or optional now, and then different programs have different number, right? So yeah, I definitely found that co-op was helpful, right? And I got employed sooner than a lot of my contemporaries, my classmates, because I was part of the co-op program. But it is more competitive, right? So there's a higher cutoff, an average that you have to maintain. And I almost failed out of my program because of my marks weren't great, but I was able to stay in. And yeah, so it is definitely something worth considering, but it depends on where you are, right? Because the school provides a lot of resources, but there's a lot of resources out there as well, right? So it's really how risk averse you are, and if you have the means, right? Because if you can afford it, then why not, right? But if you can't afford it, well, then there are other options as well. So that's my background, and yeah, I do find that the work experience definitely made a difference in terms of job prospects when I graduated. So I graduated in the dot-com bubble when it burst, right? So it was really hard for folks in tech to get a job. So a lot of the new hires weren't getting anything. But because I had the high school co-op, the university co-op, then I was like miles ahead of a lot of other people, because I did have that practical work experience, right? So it's definitely something that I encourage folks to consider. So yeah, I think we shared a lot of insights in terms of work experience, where school is great, but it's not just classes and assignments and grades and GPA and stuff like that. Work experience is really what's going to be relevant and helpful. So you can leverage different aspects like co-op, internships, volunteering, and all that in order to, one, explore like what are some different areas that you want to get into and confirm, and two is actually demonstrate and even hone your skills, right? So yes, you've theoretically learned it in class and you've done a few assignments, but can you apply it practically to a person's place of business, right? And if you can do that, then that differentiates you. And yeah, and learning all the adulting habits, which we didn't really get into, but like being on time and communicating with professionals and dressing appropriately, even something as simple as that can be taken for granted. But I think we shared a lot of good insights, and what I encourage folks to do is definitely consider those work experiences. Make sure that if you're not in a co-op program, or you're just kind of your head is in the book, right, and trying to get a really high mark, well, you might want to pop out and put your head up so that you can look for some work experience so that you can be more competitive in the work environment. What sort of insights or what sort of advice would you have for the folks out there listening for yourself, Revant?
I'd just say that you need to decide whether um, you want work experience and what kind of work experience you want. You need to kind of shortlist down a few sectors wherein you want to potentially end up with a job in a job. And yes, I think the co-op program gives students a great opportunity to get an upper hand compared to other students. And also it's not only for to get an upper hand in terms of future job prospects, but also the students know what the job is asking for, and what would be their expectations, and will they be able to commit to that in the longer run.
Cool. All right, so that's it for this episode, and thanks everyone for joining us, and then we'll have another topic related to students, and we'll see everyone in the next episode. Thanks for joining us on the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Luki Danu, LUKIDANU, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.